In this video, you will see material that may be considered inappropriate or sensitive for you, therefore discretion is advised. We start with this girl who is looking for her friend named Kif in this deep dark tunnel. Kif suddenly appears and tells her that they need to get out of there as quickly as possible. But then a strange woman shows up, grabs Kif by the head, and slams him against the wall several times until his face is disfigured. This female figure looks quite terrifying and gaunt. She has enormous teeth that are visible when she approaches the girl and lets out a scream that echoes throughout the place. But first, let's see how these kids got to this point. We begin the story with a girl named Tess who is driving through a heavy storm in search of an address. Upon arriving at the address, she tries to unlock the lock, then checks the code and even receives a call from Marcus. When she unlocks the box, she notices that there is no key inside. After calling the operator, she sees a car next to the house, and before leaving, she notices the lights of the house she booked through an app are on. She starts knocking several times until a man named Kif opens the door. He tells her that he also booked this house and that she should check the address and the date. She does so and they see that they are both correct. Kif invites her in so they can call the people from the app together. Once inside, Tess asks him to show her the reservation he made to clear her doubts, and while she goes to the bathroom, Kif becomes a little suspicious. When Tess comes out of the bathroom, Kif shows her his reservation. They check everything, and the girl says she is going to look for another place to stay. Kif tells her that with the storm and being in an unfamiliar area, it wouldn't be a good idea. Later, he gives her the Wi-Fi password so she can make another reservation, all while he mentions that someone left a bottle of wine and also offers her some tea. Tess calls the app support, but they do not give her a positive response. At that moment, Kif tells her that there is a convention in town, which might be why there are no rooms available. Tess stays in the room where the boy was. He accidentally left his wallet, so the girl takes a picture of his ID and then returns it to him. After taking a bath to relax, the girl notices that Kif is waiting for her with a bottle of wine. He tells her that he didn't open it to avoid creating distrust. Tess says she will join him but that she is not going to drink. Then the girl tells him that she is in that place for a job interview to work on some documentaries about the town of Detroit, which is where they are at the moment. Kif tells her that she can also interview him, as he is the co-founder of a rock band in Detroit. In the middle of the conversation, the girl finally accepts a bit of wine, and they continue talking for a long while, even having quite a bit of fun making the girl's bed, until the boy finally closes the door and says goodbye. Later, while the woman is sleeping, she hears some voices that leave her quite scared. 2000 Dine. Upon waking up, she notices that the door to her room is open. From a distance, she sees Kif sleeping, and when she gets closer, she realizes that he is having nightmares and making some rather strange sounds. Upon waking him up, both are startled, and he tells her that he was not the one who opened her door. The next day, Kif leaves a note for Tess, telling her that she should have woken up early and to leave the keys. When the woman leaves the house, she finds everything in disarray. Later, elsewhere, while Tess was taking a look at the photo of Kif, she encounters the woman she is going to be interviewed by, named Catherine. After the interview, Catherine asks Tess where she is staying. Tess mentions the name of the town, which leaves Catherine quite surprised, and she tells Tess that she shouldn't be in that place. Tess replies that although the place is a bit lonely, she is not afraid and that she also has a roommate. Catherine only advises her to take care, and then they say goodbye. Back at her lodging, Tess sees that the town is actually quite terrifying. Her face says it all. As she gets out of the car towards her house, she sees a strange man who appears out of nowhere and runs towards her. Tess manages to reach her house and grab the key, and although the man almost catches her, Tess enters the house and calls the police from inside, all while checking to see if the strange man has left. The police's response is that they do not have units for that location. Moments later, while the girl goes to the bathroom, she notices there is no toilet paper. After searching in several places, she spots a package in the basement, goes down for it, but when she comes back up, the door closes behind her, leaving the woman trapped down there and, to make matters worse, leaving her phone on the table. Tess realizes that at least she has the key, so she tries to escape through a small window, but she is unable to do so. After a while, and searching for another way out, the woman finds a rope behind an object that goes through the wall, pulls on it, and sees a mysterious door leading to a dark tunnel begin to open. The woman hesitates to enter and steps back towards the stairs. From there, she sees a mirror, and with the help of the light bulb, she thinks of reflecting the light to illuminate the tunnel. And here I ask you, would you be able to enter this tunnel? Or for money? If you were offered a certain amount of money, how much would it take for you to enter here? Comment down below, you know I always read the comments. And while I'm at it, I ask you to like the video. You know that helps YouTube recommend it. If you're new here, I invite you to subscribe and activate the notification bell. All of this is completely free for you and helps me a lot. Now let's continue." And later, Tess slowly enters. As she moves forward a bit, she finds another door. When she opens it and turns on the lights, she discovers a room that has a camera in perfect condition, a bed, and even a bucket. When the woman enters, she sees a blood mark on the wall. Quite scared, she runs from the place and gets another scare when someone knocks on the door, but this time it is Kif who helps her escape from the basement by opening the small window. Once upstairs, the quite agitated woman tells her what she just saw, and that they need to leave that house as quickly as possible. Kif jokes about everything Tess tells him and says that it's impossible, and even though the woman insists that there was a handprint on the wall, the man refuses to believe her. Tess gets quite upset, grabs her things to leave the house, but the boy convinces her to let him check for himself, asking her to wait for 30 seconds while he goes into the basement. After some time, the girl starts calling for him, but he does not respond, and behind her, the door almost closes. However, Tess manages to avoid it, places a chair, and with the flashlight from her phone, she goes down to the basement in search of Kif. She checks under the bed and then sees another door that leads even further down. After shouting Kif's name, Tess hears desperate cries for help, so the woman slowly descends into the deep tunnel. At the bottom, she finds some open gates, and further ahead, she discovers some cages with plates. The woman starts screaming desperately, calling for him, and just at that moment, Kif suddenly appears, crawling and quite scared. He tells her that there is someone down there and that he doesn't know what it is, but something bit him. The terrified girl tells him that they need to get out of that place quickly, but Kif grabs her and says that she shouldn't go that way, that the exit is where he came from. But at that moment, this enormous woman with a terrifying appearance appears, grabbing Kif by the head and slamming him against the wall over and over again, until he is literally left with his head smashed. All of this happens in front of Tess's terrified gaze, who then sees this terrifying woman let out a tremendous scream quite close to her. Sometime later, we see this cheerful guy driving in his car while singing. This man is known as AJ. He receives a call informing him that he has been accused of rape, and therefore he will be removed from a movie he was filming. He is also told that the rape accusations will appear in a famous newspaper. Later, AJ is consulting with his lawyer about the chances of winning the lawsuit. The advisor tells him that he is bankrupt and that he should consider selling some of his properties. After leaving, he calls another friend who tells him that he should not leave the state and much less call the victim. Later, AJ goes and picks up the keys to one of his properties. Yes, the same one where Kif and Tess are. Upon arriving, the first thing he does is remove the chair that Tess had placed at the entrance of the basement. Then he sees other belongings and calls the real estate agency to complain and ask about the last tenants. The next day, AJ reviews some belongings of the Yusin boys, then checks Tess's laptop, but it is locked. While having a coffee, he hears some noises in the basement. He asks them to leave his property, and after seeing that no one comes out, he prepares with a flashlight and a knife and proceeds to go down. In the basement, he sees the mirror as Tess left it, then feels something pass close to him. Later, he sees the rope that, when pulled, opens the door to a deeper basement. The man leaves the place and searches online to see if basements and underground rooms add value to properties. When he reads an article confirming this, he starts measuring the area and increasingly discovers more entrances and rooms in his basement, which fuels his greed. Without paying much attention, he even passes by the cages and continues measuring until he reaches a room with a light on. The man approaches the room and finds a television on which a woman is breastfeeding a baby. He is quite disgusted, and at that moment, the subway that the man had extended is swiftly pulled into the darkness of the tunnel. The man tries to shine his flashlight, and out of nerves, he even drops the knife. Then, terrifying noises are heard in the background, and AJ, quite scared, runs in the opposite direction. While running, he trips and falls, leaving the flashlight malfunctioning. With a couple of hits, AJ manages to get the flashlight to work partially, but it frequently turns off, and each time it does, we can hear something approaching him. Now the enormous female figure is seen approaching, getting closer and closer until she appears right in front of him. AJ, quite scared, runs through one of the tunnels, but further ahead he falls into a deep hole, where he injures his hand and then sees a gate closing above him. Fortunately, the man is not alone. Tess is also trapped in that hole, and she tells him that he must stay quiet so that the woman in the basement does not get upset. Now the story takes us back a few years, where from the same house we see this slightly older man coming out, who then goes to the supermarket and buys some things for a childbirth. The woman helps him choose some items since the man has no idea. When the man leaves the supermarket, he sees a woman in the distance who has also done some shopping. He follows her to her house, then dresses in a company uniform and goes to the lady. He tells her that they are doing water cuts and need to verify, and he does so, but he also removes the lock from the bathroom window before leaving. Sometime later, as he arrives in the neighborhood, he is greeted by his neighbor who tells him that he and his partner are also leaving the neighborhood, just like the other neighbors. However, he responds that he will never leave the place. Then the man named Frank enters the house, and later, after opening a door, we can only hear the screams of a woman. Back in the hole where Aj and Tess are, she asks him if anyone else knows he was going to be in that place, and he says no. Tess tells him that to stay alive, the only thing they have to do is not get agitated, as she will also remain calm. Just then, the basement woman arrives with filthy hands holding an unpleasant bottle that she tries to force Ajay to take. The basement woman starts insisting, and Tess encourages him to do it, but Ajay refuses. Then the woman hands the enormous bottle to Tess, who reluctantly takes it with disgust. After that, the woman goes back to Ajay, and Tess tells him that the woman just wants them to be her babies, but he still doesn't take it. This frustrates the basement woman greatly, and she descends into the hole quite furious. However, she first indulges Tess as if she were her real baby. Before turning all her fury against Ajay, she first chokes him against the wall by grabbing him by the neck, and after he mumbles a few words, she grabs him by the foot and pulls him out of the hole, dragging him through the dark tunnel until they reach the room where the television is, with the woman breastfeeding. We return to Tess, who took advantage of the basement woman's distraction and escaped from the hole. She hears Ajay's screams as the basement woman is forcing him to be breastfed. Tess carefully passes by the area and moves away, but she trips over the tape measure on the ground, which catches the attention of the basement woman, who comes out to chase her. Tess runs through the tunnel until she reaches the top, but the door does not open even though she tries several times. Then she goes back and with the flashlight breaks the small window of the basement, and although she is almost caught, this man, the same one who chased her before, is the one who saves her life, and we see that the basement woman is quite angry. Tess tells the strange man that they must go back to rescue the other one who is trapped, while we see Ajay getting up from the ground. Back with Tess, she tells the man that they need to call the police, but the man tells her that they don't have a phone there, and that they should go to his refuge in the water tower, as that woman comes out to hunt her at night. He also says that this is not the worst thing down there. Back with Aj, he finds some wires and some bells held by lines of rope and follows them while he hears the basement woman approaching from behind. He reaches a door and upon turning, sees the woman slowly coming closer. But surprisingly, she starts to back away as if she is afraid of what is hiding behind the door. AJ opens the door. Back with Tess, she arrives at the gas station where she asks for a phone. Returning to the basement, Aj finds several women's garments and the smell of the place is quite unpleasant. At that moment, Aj gets a big scare. It is an elderly man who is quite ill in a bed. This is Frank, who looks very emaciated. Back with Tess, she encounters a couple of police officers who first tell her that they noticed her car. Then the officers receive a call about a shooting and ask Tess for her identification. Since she doesn't have it, they pay little to no attention to her, even though she tells them that she was kidnapped and there is another man trapped. Now we are back with Aj, who tries to help the elderly man by handing him a little water while telling him that he is going to find a way to get out of that place. Since Aj does not understand him, he passes the table so that the man can decide. Back with Tess and the police who are checking the house from the outside, the officer tells her that if they don't have evidence, they cannot enter, and she avoids being arrested for allegedly using drugs. Back in the basement, Aj reviews a pile of recordings of abuses committed by Frank, then sees that he is trying to take something from the table, and now realizes that the man is pulling out a gun. Adjusting quite scared, he pleads with him not to shoot, but the old man actually blows his own head off. Back with Tess, she throws a rock inside the house to make the basement woman come out. Then she starts the car and positions it in front of the house. At that moment, the enormous and quite furious basement woman comes out, and Tess rams her with the car, trapping her between the car and the house. The woman tries to escape and breaks the car window, but then she starts to lose strength while staring intently at Tess. Back with Ajay, he takes the old man's weapon and leaves the room, while Tess enters the house. Ajay, armed with the weapon and the flashlight, approaches the exit, and Tess sees the light getting closer. But in a frightened moment, Ajay shoots him in the abdomen. In 2001, while Tess is on the ground, she sees the recording where the basement woman kisses the baby on the forehead. Now Ajay helps lift Tess, and together they manage to leave the house. Upon exiting, they see that the woman is not where Tess ran her over. Tess then tells AJ that they must go to the water tower. When they arrive at the location, they encounter the man who previously helped Tess. He tells them that the woman they saw has been living in those basements for many years because Frank used to kidnap women, rape them, and impregnate them. Then he would rape their daughters and their daughters' daughters and so on for almost 40 years, leading to what is now the basement woman. Now the man tells her that he finds it strange that the basement woman hurt Tess. She tells him that it was age, but that it was an accident. The man tells them that they must spend the night in that place since he has been living there for 15 years and that this creature has never come. But the story changes quickly as out of nowhere the basement woman breaks through the wall, reaching the man and grabbing him by the neck with one hand while pulling on the man's arm with the other until she tears it off. Then she throws it to the ground and uses the same arm of the man to beat him. This moment is taken advantage of by Aj, who, not caring about Tess's fate as she is injured, runs away from the place and Tess tries to follow him. Outside, they encounter a fence and barbed wire, so they climb up the water tower. Tess tries to reach Aj and falls. From above, he sees the basement woman approaching them. Tess tells him to remember that he has a weapon, but Aj, quite nervous, drops it. Ajay tells Tess that that thing won't stop until it finishes them off, so he must escape and will use her to distract the creature. Ajay grabs Tess by the hair and tells the basement woman that she has her baby, while he throws Tess, who falls into the void. The basement woman, surprised, runs and dives in after her baby to save her. Moments later, Jota peeks in and sees the two bodies lying one on top of the other in a pool of blood. He then goes down and notices that Tess is alive. The woman fell down and he apologizes to Tess, telling her that it was the only thing he could think of at that moment and that he didn't throw her. She started to fall and he just helped her up. But behind her, the basement woman also rises, grabbing Jota by the neck with both hands, lifting him into the air and pressing her thumbs into his eyes, squeezing them and then splitting his head in two halves. The basement woman sees Tess and notices that she is injured, so she tries to take her back inside. But Tess tells her that she cannot go back. While taking the weapon, the woman makes the gesture of a mother kissing her baby's forehead with her hand. But with regret, Tess puts the weapon in her face and blows her head off. I found this ending quite sad. Let me know in the comments what you think about both the movie and the summary. Now, thank you for watching. Like, subscribe by activating the bell. And don't forget to brush your teeth before going to bed.